What is going on, guys? We are coming off of a hot Monday. It was great. It was really weird at first. The market sort of tanked, tried to drop really quickly off of some news that there was a new strain of COVID in Europe. So that wasn't fun in the beginning of the morning. And then one of my stocks gave me a scare early in the morning, but then everything just rebounded. Everything picked back up. They forgot about it, moved on, and the market ended green, up 37 points for the Dow, negative 13 points for the Nasdaq. It's still trying to get above that level that it gapped down from, but still better than what it looked like this morning. And then down 14 points for the S&P, so still below that level where it gapped down, but clearly 14 points and 13 points is not much. It's basically flat, basically flat. So not a bad day. We expected more. We had the government pass the stimulus package over the weekend. It wasn't extremely impressive, $600 per person in the US. So I don't think the market responded very aggressively to that news. It doesn't seem like much money to stimulate the economy. So we'll see how the market responds to that for the rest of the week. But all in all, we did excellent with our trades. We are very excited about that. So one of the stocks that we've been looking at for a while is VIVO. This one's been top of my list. It's got great fundamentals, great chart setup, a lot of good things going for it. We wanted to take this trade at the break of this level down here. Basically, at the break of $20, we saw it consolidated in this very tight range. We also saw this, see if we can draw it for you. We also saw this uptrending movement here, this ascending triangle, this ascending wedge, and we wanted to take this trade on that breakout. So it broke out last Friday. We took the trade, and then we were in it over the weekend. It ran up higher today, and I got out at 21.60. It ended the day at 21.66. So good trade there for us all. I think this thing still has room to run. I would say, somewhere around here where you see all of these, where support levels back here, held support there, and then crashed through it. There was slightly resistance there, but also support. So I think this is an important level. So I think the stock still has room to run all the way up to 23.16. I'm just taking my profit because I like to hit my target and get out, and my target was 21.60. So took the profit, whoever's still in it. That's the target there. If it dips below, then you know where you should get out below that $20 level. All right, so that was a good trade. Then we also traded GMNK, was it? GMNK, that's what it was. Oh, whoa, GNMK, that's what it was. All right, so we also traded this today. Actually, a very similar pattern to VIVO. If you look at that, a breakout right here from that important level that has been forming for the past 2 to 3 months. You can see it was very tight in this area right here, tapped right there, tapped right there, tapped right there, and then finally broke out today. We got in this morning as it broke above that level. We took a dip trade on it because the breakout seemed a bit risky. It would throw off my risk reward. So we took a dip on it, got in as it pulled back in the morning, and then it continued higher, and we got out for profit there as well. My exit was somewhere around 14.80, I think, right there. And it was very simple because you can see the resistance levels back here on the chart. So we see right there was resistance, right there was resistance. It finally broke above it, gapped up, then came back down, used it as support because stocks use former resistance levels as support. Same thing with resistance. They use former support levels as resistance. And so we see that this was support, broke below it, and then came down, and then couldn't get back above it going forward. So that was our target area. We knew that the stock would run into trouble there. So that's where I decided to take my profit and get out of it. There was one more trade that we took. It was green, but it didn't move much. I think we made, about a 20, 30 cent gain on it today. from our entry point, but it didn't really move much. And I think it still can make a move later on during the week. But you know, I like stocks that kind of move throughout the day, not super aggressively, but they make some movements where you can track them and see that progress is happening. But this one was just kind of flat for most of the day, so we decided to cut that one short. Let me actually see if I can pull it up for you guys. Yeah, we decided to cut that one short because it wasn't moving. It was GLDD. So yeah, this one, we saw that we took the trade basically because it broke above this $12 resistance level that you can see right here, a bunch of taps, and it finally broke above that on Friday. So today we wanted to take the trade on a dip. So it came all the way back down, as you can see by that wick and tail. Came down, we got in on the entry, and then started to run higher, and it just sort of got stuck. We got in somewhere around down here at like 1180 because clearly you see the support line right there that used to be resistance. So you see it right here, you know, tap, 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 finally broke out of it. So we got in on the pullback down from that level, okay, and then rolled that up, but it didn't really move much for the rest of the day. It's got an ATR of about 41 cents, so that's most likely why. All right, so great trades. All of our trades were green today. It was an excellent, excellent Monday, even after that scare from the market. It was an excellent Monday. We're excited about the rest of this week. So there's a couple of trades that we're taking a look at. One of them is LAKE, Lake. I'm very excited about this one. The fundamentals look great. You know, I came over here. Usually I start with the chart, and I started with the chart with this one, but I'm just super excited about the fundamentals. I'll save that actually. We'll come right back to it. So on a technical level, it's a little difficult to see anything on the daily chart here. You know, you've got a break, you got a resistance line right there. You see some resistance there, but an actual breakout and a pullback down. Then it broke out here of that level. So is this the level? But, you know, there's no actual candle that touches it there, and then it never touches that level again over here. So it's really difficult to figure out what the level is on a daily chart. So we went over to the weekly chart, and then you can see there's a lot more clarity here, right? We see that right here, basically where it's at right now, that 2451 level. You can see the tap there, tap there, tap there, tap there. Has not had a candle above that level ever since the stock's existence. And so you can tell that that is the primary level here, and any breakout would be above that level. And so we're watching that level for the potential breakout. Let's take a look at the monthly chart as well. Yeah, so I'd say we're basically focusing on the weekly chart for this particular trade. Okay, so that's the setup there. And then we can use a number of things a number of areas for support. So we'll identify that as well. So some of the things I like about this is in the consumer cyclical sector, which has been doing really well. They've been benefiting from COVID. It's a U.S. stock, of course, but when we scroll down here, it's a low float stock. It's below 10 million shares traded, which is awesome. Means it can make a really nice move. It is overbought right now on the RSI, so we'll have to watch out for that. But when stocks break above critical levels, many times they just ignore the RSI and they really just want to break out, and they know that that's one of the conditions that comes with breaking out is being considered overbought. And so it may ignore that level. I'm not too worried about it, but we will keep that on watch. Volume is typically around 350,000 shares traded per day. It did 1.6 times that amount today. So it is building volume. Not much, but it is building volume. The thing that would concern us, of course, is the insiders have sold their shares, but this is reported, I think, once every quarter or something like that. It's not reported that often, so we don't know what the accurate number is now. Same thing for institutional ownership. Previously, there was about 74% of institutions that owned this stock. We are not sure what that number is, but the fact that last quarter it was 74% means that there is some value in this particular stock. The other things look good. Sales quarter over quarter is positive by 50%, which is great. They were positive on sales for the past 5 years, which is also great. They have no debt, which is awesome. And earnings per share quarter over quarter is extremely high at 700%, Looks like they had some earnings on December. Let's see if they beat. Look at that. So they surpassed Q3 earnings and revenue estimates. So that's awesome. So this stock has got a lot of good things going for it in regards to fundamentals. You can see the sales has been increasing over the past 5 years. Shares outstanding as well took a little dip, but still above, some of the other years. And then the EPS has been all over the place, but I think they're doing extremely well with that quarter over quarter this year. So we should see a slight change in that number going forward. So I'm very excited. This is one of the stocks that is on our watch list for tomorrow. If you are a part of our newsletter, then I'll send you the exact trade specifics, the entry, the stop, the target, and then we can make some money on that one together. Hopefully, we will see how it goes. The next stock is EGOV. This one looks incredible. It looks great. So the chart setup, I would give almost a 10 out of 10. I'll say a 9 out of 10, just to leave some room for something else that might potentially look better. But this is perfect. It's literally almost perfect. So right here, we've got this level, 25.73. You see it right there. But if we want to hit the wick just to be safe, we'll say 25.95 is the level. And you can see it almost tapped that level back here in April, tapped it in June, the middle of June, got rejected from that level, price fell below, and then is now trading at that level again. And it's a critical point where we're going to see if it breaks out or not. Okay, so that's the daily chart perspective, which looks good. There's a clear defined level. Then when we come over to the monthly chart, we see the same thing. We see that 25.94 level where it currently is, where the price currently is critical. You see it tried to tap it back in, I think that's May, or April, probably. Yeah, April. Tried to tap it in June. Same story as the daily chart, basically. It's getting ready to break out. But the fact that there's double confirmation on the daily chart and the weekly chart is awesome. And then we go over to the monthly chart, and it's a similar story where we have right here that 25.96 level. Once again, the top wicks of these candles, that is the important level. And so what that shows us is that traders and investors and hedge funds, everyone who's looking at this particular stock has the same story. They know the important level for the stock. And that means that the buy-in that can happen can squeeze this level because everyone's getting in at the same price. It would be incredibly silly for a short to hold on to their position if it breaks above that 25.89, basically $26. If it breaks above that level, shorts should cover because the demand is going to come in from all sides. It's not coming in just from people who are looking at the daily chart. It's also coming in from people who are looking at the weekly chart. It's also coming in from traders and investors who are looking at the monthly chart. So all of these different angles where buy-in is going to pick up and the demand is going to pick up means that this stock should run higher tomorrow. That's the overall sentiment for the stock right now. It is in an excellent position for a breakout, one of the better setups that I've seen. Aside from that, obviously I went into a little rant about that. I think this is an excellent setup, but aside from that, of course, it's above all of its moving averages. The other things that this stock has going for it, it's in the technology sector. Why is that important? Well, I will show you. So the technology sector has been one of the stronger performing sectors. In fact, it is the strongest performing sector of 2020. Technology has done extremely well due to COVID, with everyone having to stay home and use more technology and buy more technology products and things like that. It's been doing really well. So stocks that are within this sector have been benefiting from the sector overall doing extremely well. So that's a great plus there. It's in the strongest sector in the market. And then let's look at some of the other things that it's got going on. Float size is about 65 million, which is about medium. The RSI is around 73.5, which we can expect, right? It's near a critical breakout level, so of course it's going to be considered overbought if it gets near this level or breaks above that level. We expect that to happen with breakouts. The volume is typically around 300,000 shares traded per day. It did 305,000 shares today. And so it's doing just at its typical volume. And what I imagine is investors and traders and people are trying to see, is this going to break out? They are watching it carefully. And if it breaks out, we can see that relative volume number increase dramatically. The ATR is about 62 cents per day. So that's what you can typically expect. And so we keep that in mind just so we know when a stock is going well beyond its limits. Insider transactions, negative 2.94%. Not a big number, so not extremely worried about that. That's a 6-month change. And so, we don't know if that's extremely accurate at this point. If it breaks above, of course, maybe the guys that are inside are getting in and have a piece of that move as well, especially if they know something big behind the scenes, such as upcoming deals and their financial situation and things like that. Institutional ownership, 92%. And this is reported quarter over quarter. So we don't know if that's extremely accurate right now, but I can imagine, just like maybe you can, that 92% of the institutions that were holding this stock before, there's no way that they all cleared out within 1 quarter. And so I imagine that there's still a big number of those guys that are still involved. And you should follow the smart money, right? There's hedge funds, the companies that are doing really well. They put their money into these stocks for a reason. They have tons and tons of tools and software to make sure they're choosing stocks for a particular reason. If they have 92% of them focused on this stock, or if this stock is owned by 92% of institutions, then that is a major sign right there. The other thing I like about this that's on the chart perspective is the volume down here. If we look at this, a lot of stocks, let's actually go to the daily chart just so I can get a better picture of this. Okay, so this is increasing in volume, right? So if I had to figure out what's the average volume, where it's at about for the past year, for this year, I'd say right there, right? We see that level get hit a number of times with volume. We see it right there. And then there's some outliers where it, ran above it, but there's not a ton of them. There's a lot of them, but not a ton. So right here is a pretty consistent level in regards to volume. And that's somewhere around, below a million, about a 500,000 shares traded, right? And we see a lot of green right after COVID. So this stock has clearly benefited from COVID almost immediately, right? And now we start to see that volume picking up again. The other day, looks like it had a massive volume day and sort of cooled down today because it's right at that critical level. And so I believe that we can see a breakout of volume on this one if it continues to run. Some other things, you see the sales. Sales is increasing, has been increasing over the past 5 years, 5.4%. Sales quarter over quarter, 48.9. Earnings per share, quarter over quarter, 72%. Let's see, no debt on the company, which is always great, recommended by FinViz. There's a lot of great things about this particular stock. Earnings per share has been pretty decent. They've been positive for the past, looks like 5 years. I don't really see any weird news headlines such as lawsuits or dilution or any of that within the news headlines. And so this is another excellent stock to choose right now. This is an excellent one that we will be, like I just gave you guys the breakout level, so you know where we'll be looking for a trade. But if you are interested in learning more about where to place your stop, which is one of the more important questions, and what's your target, which is the least important question, to be quite honest, then reach out to us, figure out how you can be a part of our newsletter, and we'd be happy to include you guys on that information. But we're super excited about this particular trade because this one looks like it's shaping up for a breakout. We create stops, we put stops on our trades because you never know, right? One of my favorite trading quotes is we trade probabilities, not certainties, right? And that's just leaving room. That means leaving room for anything to happen, any possibility. You can have a stock that looks excellent, best stock in the world, and it can still run down the next day and surprise you. And so we're trading probabilities. We're looking for stocks that have the most likelihood of going higher the next trade-in session or over the next couple of trade-in sessions to have a breakout. And we understand that that is a probability. We are trying to increase our chances of that happening, but we know that with the stock market, anything can happen because nothing is certain. And that's what that quote really represents. And so that's why it's important to have your stop at a place where you're not going to ruin your account because you're too hopeful and excited about a particular trade. I'm extremely excited about these two stocks here. Very anxious to see how they trade tomorrow, but still, my stop is going to protect me even if I'm wrong. And so that's the important thing there. All right, guys. So that is the update. Um, if you guys have any questions, reach out to us, shoot a comment below, and we'll be happy to get you some answers to those. All right. Take care.